guys, I hope you had fun with our Alice in Wonderland yesterday on live, and we talked a little bit about the caucus race and the fun prizes, and I even sent you a recipe that you can make your own confits. But today we're going to finish up chapter 3 in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So here we go. You promised to tell me your history, you know, said Alice, and why it is you hate C's and D's, she added in a whisper, half afraid that he would be offended again. Mine is a long and sad tale, said the mouse, turning to Alice and sighing. It's a long tale, certainly, said Alice, looking down with wonder at the mouse's tail. So we have the word tail and tale. They sound the same, but one tale is another word for a story. And then a tail, T-A-I-L, is a word for the tail of a puppy or a kitten or a mouse. But why do you call it sad? Alice kept looking at the mouse's real tail and saying, why is it sad? As she kept on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking, so that her idea of the tale was something like this. She was imagining the story in the shape of a tail. Fury said to a mouse that he met in a house, let us both go to law, I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial, we must have a trial, for really this morning I've nothing to do, said the mouse to the cur, such a trial, dear sir. Would no injury or judge would be wasting our breath. I'll be judge, I'll be jury, said cunning old Fury. I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death. So we created a poem. She created in her mind a poem in the shape of the mouse's tail. And that's one way of writing poetry, is to write shape poetry. And we write shapes of poetry. And normally we write a shape poem in class, but maybe you can come up with your own poem that doesn't necessarily have to rhyme. It just is written in the shape of something. So just like this picture. So how is this both a tale and a tale? It's a story written in the shape of a tale, or also known as shape poetry. You're not attending, said the mouse to Alice severely. What are you thinking of? I beg your pardon, said Alice very humbly. You have got to the fifth bend, I think. I had not, cried Mouse. Sharply and very angrily, I'm not, said Alice, always ready to make herself useful and looking anxiously about her. Oh, do let me help to undo it. I shall do nothing of the sort, said the mouse, getting up and walking away. You insult me by talking such nonsense. I did not mean it, pleaded poor Alice, but you're so easily offended, you know. The mouse only growled in reply. Please come back and finish your story, Alice called after it, and the others all joined in chorus. Yes, please do, but the mouse only shook its head impatiently and walked a little quicker. What a pity, it would say, sighed the Lory as soon as it was quite out of sight. And an old crab took the opportunity of saying to her daughter, Ah, my dear, let this be a lesson to you to never lose your temper. Hold your tongue, Ma, said the young crab a little snappishly. You're enough to try the patience of an oyster. I wish I had our Dinah here. I know I do, said Alice aloud, addressing no one in particular. She'd soon fetch it back. And who is Dinah, if I might venture to ask the question, asked the Lory. Alice replied eagerly, for she was always ready to talk about her pet. Dinah's our cat, and she's such a capital one for catching mice you can't think. Oh, and oh, how I wish you could see her after the birds. Well, she'll eat a little bird as soon as she'll look at it. The speech caused a remarkable sensation among the party. Why do you think that? She was talking about her cat Dinah and how it killed mice and birds, but she's talking to a mouse and some birds. One old magpie began wrapping itself up very carefully, remarking, I really must be getting home. The night air doesn't suit my throat. And a canary called out in a trembling voice to his children, Come away, my dears, it's high time you were all in bed. On various pretexts, they all moved off, and Alice was soon alone. I wished I hadn't mentioned Dinah, she said to herself in a melancholy tone. Nobody seems to like her down here. And I'm sure she's the very best cat in the world. Oh, my dear Dinah, I wonder if I shall ever see you any more." And here poor Alice began to cry again, for she felt very low and low-spirited. In a little while, she again heard a little pattering of footsteps in the distance, and she looked up. Eagerly, half hoping the mouse had changed his mind and was coming back to finish his story. So that ends our chapter 3, and we will continue to read more next week. But what do you think Alice made a mistake in doing? Do you think she made a mistake by talking about crazy things that about her cat when she was with the company of birds and mice? But she was so lonely and she didn't know what to say. So she just was silly and said some of the wrong things, and they all got scared thinking her cat might show up and she might not get to, and she might, that they might hurt the birds or the mouse. So they ran away and she was left without the end of the story. And so I have a couple of questions I want to ask you. How was the story that the mouse told Alice and the others a sad tale? Remember that he was sad, and but then we saw the poem as a sad tale. And how was the party broken up? Do you remember that everybody left the party because Alice, once again, just like we talked about, kept talking about her cat, and they were so afraid that the cat would come and get them. So that ends our chapter 3 of Alice's adventures, and she's come into many great adventures, and it'll be interesting to see where she goes in chapter 4. So we'll be moving on to chapter 4 next week, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend and just learn to explore like Alice did. Have a great day. Bye-bye.